Trucks. Yep, that's what we're talking about in this episode of Psycho for Tyco. Now, in the 70s and 80s, you actually saw a mix of trucks, which was the cabover engine and the long nose or the conventional truck. But a lot has changed since 1991, especially with truck lengths. But if you model something in, say, the 70s, the 80s, perhaps even the late 60s, and even into the 90s, you might have one or two cabover trucks still on your pike. As a matter of fact, even modern days, you might have a cabover truck on your pike. And back in my day, when Tyco was actually on hobby shop shelves, toy store shelves, things like that, you really didn't have much of a variety of trucks like you do today. But also with the variety of trucks comes a big price tag that burns a hole in your pocket. So I'm going to show you how to take one of those late 70s all the way up until the end of Tyco cabover Kenworth style, and I do say Kenworth style, and I'll explain that later in the video. But I will show you Tyco's Kenworth style cabover and how you can make it look a little more decent with all your other modern trucks on your pike. And that's on the next episode of, you guessed it, Psycho for Tyco.
From Tyco, of course.
Okay, as described in the introduction, we are talking about the Tyco truck, and we are talking specifically about the Tyco Kenworth-esque truck, and this one I just got on eBay, but I also have one that's out of the box. Okay, without all the fanfare and the montage and all that, really quick about the Tyco semi-trucks, which I found was quite interesting. Now, in the 1960s, when Tyco came out with its first big accessory, which was the Tyco truck terminal, they used what was known as a Dodge L600 or an L700 cabover. Now, quickly getting into the history of the L600, L700. The L600 was a gasoline-powered cabover truck. The 700 was a diesel, but externally they were the same. And the whole idea of this cabover truck that Dodge brought out was for city driving, basically. Now, in about 78, 79, Con Foods pulled out the L600, L700 series truck and came out with a Kenworth-esque cabover that lost a lot of detail that was in the L600, L700. And I mean, they super cheapened it. There's no exhaust on this truck. There's no windows in this truck. There's no interior in this truck. And the motor is quite lacking in detail. I mean, there's not even a transmission here. So, and this one here is done pretty crappy. Now, the reason I say it's Kenworth-esque, okay, if you look here at where the logo is, right there, it's kind of the Kenworth logo, and the design is similar to a Kenworth cabover. However, because of a whole bunch of copyright infringements and everything else that Tyco had to deal with, one of which was the bicentennial set of 1974. Long quick story about that. When it came out, they had 3 boxcars, red, white, and blue, with the bicentennial logo. And they had an Alco C430 that was mounted with the presidential seal. All of that was unauthorized, and so therefore Tyco was given a cease and desist order on that. The other big controversy came out in about 76, 77 with the Clementine set. And that was the chew male pouch tobacco. And of course, certain parental groups got really all wired up about that. And Tyco kind of pushed that aside. And the other thing that came up, and this was kind of interesting when I did my research, was Tyco's Alco C630, the Super Century. And these were things I didn't know, and as I digged in and more, I found out a lot of internal strife on that, which I think I'm going to talk about in a future episode when I'm reworking one of the 630s. So Tyco was kind of getting, Con Foods was actually kind of getting tired of this, so they were like, let's make it a generic cabover kind of based on the Kenworth, but let's not put the Kenworth logo on there just to be on the safe side. So that little circle literally was the answer to let's not get in trouble anymore. So let's get into a couple other details of the Tyco truck and trailer and how we're going to modify it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the two types of trailers that were usually put in here. And these were dual axle 24-foot trailers, which were common for city use back in the 1960s. Actually, these trailers were 25 feet, but in order to make them work for the flat car piggyback service, they were dropped another foot. They figured it wasn't going to show. There was a little selective compression. City trailers obviously have changed over the years, so these 24 foots wouldn't even be seen anymore. They are still pretty decently detailed. I mean, with the back doors and some of the underframe details, but like I said, these trailers aren't used anymore. Now, a neat factor is the Mansfield bar under here. I don't know if this was added at a later date or whenever, but that's a nice touch. And this particular one, if you will notice as I drop the landing gear on it, these have the lips for the Tyco overhead crane system, which used to be able to pick it up off the flat car and bring it over. And why the Focus is still doing that after I changed it, I have no idea. Now, with the cattle car depot, which came out much later, Tyco didn't do much of a change here. They just made this into a 24-foot stake and platform trailer, or an S&P. This one here's got those lovely little night glow stickers, which definitely says 1979-1980 with night glow and true steel track and other little gimmicks that tried to help sell product. So the trailer basis is the same. They just added the stake and platform. We're going to convert these two basically into hay trailers. So they'll be single axle hay trailers that'll be pulled by one single axle Kenworth. And then we're going to take the other Kenworth here and we're going to convert that into a 3-axle road truck. Now we're going to do certain modifications here. My dishes are done. So with the trucks, we're going to do certain modifications to it. One of which is we're going to get rid of the molded on horns on top. We're going to convert this one into a 3-axle cabover. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our detail parts to it. Let's put both trucks down here. First of all, we're going to install exhaust stacks. And these come from Promotex. Let me just move. So these come from Pomotex. These also come from Pomotex, and these are going to be fifth wheels, and the fifth wheels are going to get rid of the little tabs that we have on there. We're going to scrape off the horns. We're going to add some actual truck horns, and these are from Truck Stop Hobbies. We are going to modify the fuel tanks on these. So I've got some fuel tanks that will go on here. We'll add window glass into the trucks. We'll add drivers for the trucks. And then finally, I'm going to determine whether I want to put a mirror in here, some mirrors in here, or just leave it mirrorless. I have not decided that point yet. And then the last thing, which says a lot about American trucks back in the 70s and even today, is chrome. Chrome is a thing, and I got a chrome marker to do all that chroming work. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the modifications of our trucks. Okay, while we're waiting on our last minute decision on making our truck a better color, let's go ahead and let's figure out if we want a long range tank on this or we want to leave the two fuel tanks. Now the thing that's always bothered me, for whatever reason, with these Kenworth trucks, is this big flipping gap that's right here between the front axle and the fuel tanks itself. It's like there's nothing there. And while that might be all well and good, I'm going to go ahead and use some reference photos on where to put that, but I am putting a longer range fuel tank on the passenger side. So we're going to go ahead and pull out our little fuel tank kits. Oh my goodness, these fuel tanks, this has got a lot of fuel tanks on here. So let's see what we got. Let's see what we can play with here. Now we have both long range and short range tanks, or 100 gallon versus 50 gallon tanks. And it looks like assembly is literally like squeezing and glue. And we're going to put this we'll mount this right where the original one was, I think that's. We're just going to wait for that to dry a few minutes. Meanwhile, let's get off our weird looking fifth wheel here. We're going to save that pin though. Don't toss that pin because we're going to use the pin for the trailers. Now, I've never used chrome marker paints before, but these are supposed to be really cool according to Amazon. Yeah. Looks like the standard, you got to start them up. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to add some chrome to our front bumper here and to our to our radiator. So let's get some taps going on here to get the fuel flowing, or the paint flowing. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to add detail to change the configurations of our Kenworth to make it look more practical for our Pike, and to make it look like something that obviously is Tyco but also isn't, if that makes sense. And again, stuff like this definitely helps your modeling skills by building confidence without impacting your credit card score. I like the fact this has got a nice solid tip. Let's add some light in here. Definitely looks like we're showing some chrome. Getting rid of all that gray on there. Whoops. That's what happens when you lean too far. Alright, for our next step with our trailer is we're going to add our fifth wheels. Now when we build our 3-axle here, things will obviously be a little bit different, and when we build our trailers here, things will be a little different. Okay, so we've pretty much got our chassis built for our hay truck. I also went ahead and I painted the axles, and I noticed something that cheapens the Confoods rebuilds even more. The original Tyco trucks and trailers had 2-piece axles and separate tires. These are all molded as one. Fun little fact. I love how Confoods turns around and goes, yep, we got to make this as low cost as possible, and while we're at it, let's try and squeeze out that penny to make 5 cents more. So yep, we're getting back to our window. So there's several ways that we could place window glass, one of which was what I was mentioning earlier, just, you know, getting a thing of donuts or something like that and using the plastic sheeting out of that. The other way is, if you really don't care about these Tyco boxes, you can always use the inserts from these too. Or you can just use some sort of a clear plastic sheeting. Or another way is you take canopy glue, or even white glue because it dries clear, put a little dab on here, rub a toothpick, and create a film over the windows. I don't recommend the film method, only because I've done it before and it comes out real weird. It doesn't come out clear. I kind of want to do clear for the windows. I'm going to leave the side windows pretty much open for our truck driver. So let's go ahead and let's put in our window glazing. Now the other problem, I don't know. Yeah, okay. We've obviously got these stiffening tabs to where the cap tilts. So we're going to have a few problems there. But I think we can get around that. So, real simple. We just want to cut something close to where we're at on the truck cab. And as you can see, I'm actually using the grid lines to do. Okay, friends, I'm going to save you the long hours of trying to get the window glass and the driver in. But as you can see, we are getting along with the truck very nicely. Now there's only a few other details we have to put on, one of which is the horns. Now, like I said, I bought this as an accessory set, but if you don't want to spend a lot of money even on these sort of detail parts, I think N-scale horns will work. But we're almost finished with our truck here, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to go with the windows. I have found a way of clearing the empty spot, which is here and here, and of course the fifth wheel comes off as I'm doing this work. That figures. Here we're going to go ahead and add a battery box, but looking at pictures, I found the cab side is missing the steps. Let's break out a red truck here. Our cab side's missing the steps. I've got this old roundhouse ballast hopper that I'm going to rework eventually in the future. I don't have an underframe, but I do have steps for it. So we're going to go ahead, we're at a step and a battery box and put our fifth wheel back on for the 6th time. And we also have to trim the extra plastic away from here. But we are out of time, unfortunately, so we will finish up our truck and then we will start on our trailers in our next episode of Psycho for Tyco, which should be in, 2 weeks. And I don't even want to mention on why it's going to take 2 weeks to do this, but I'll probably mention it in the next video. So until then, I am Psycho for Tyco Trucks. And boy, am I psycho. Hey friends, thanks for watching the video. I know you're at the end, but if you like this video, just remember, every 2 weeks I'm going to be bringing out a new video on budget model railroading, the history of Tyco trains, the history of other model railroad companies, and some how-to things that maybe you've never learned before or you've known and you want to share with your friends but you never knew how. Well, here's the way. All you got to do on this video is like, share, subscribe, and if you want notifications, hit the little bell there, which I still don't know how to do, but we'll figure it out eventually. But until then, hey, we'll see you in the next video, and I am Psycho for Tyco.